but I think you really need a master's to specialize somewhere.
Sure.
Unless you're in the liberal arts sphere. So,
sure, but I mean, you could, just to elaborate on this, because that is something that I find really interesting as a philosopher myself. So I just want to riff on this just a little more, if you don't mind. Is that some people say, oh my god, liberal arts is terrible because it will not make you employable. And there's two strategies that you have to respond to that. The one is to say, yes, it will make you employable. Helicopter view, 21st century skills. Or the other alternative, which is the less popular one, is to say, well, I don't care about that.
Well,
I mean, you clearly talked about the first strategy, but what do you think of the second strategy?
Well, I think that's good. In a way, well, the thing is, I also really like philosophy, but I'm also an economist, so I like to think of efficiency as important for me. You also saw it in the questionnaire. So, in that way, I see this as, I don't care, but be reasonable. So the thing is, I've seen some liberal arts person who are just, there's a difference between doing philosophy because you like it and really being naive about the outside world. And you should find that balance. So you should not care, but then nevertheless you should make sure that you'll get a job somewhere along the lines. And I've seen liberal arts people in my year actually say stuff. We're applying for an exchange now, and it goes on GPA, and she has a GPA of a 7, and she says, no, but there's only one spot, but if I believe in it, I will get there. It's about they'll order on GPA, so you need to you can put on blindfolds and just say I don't care, but be a bit realistic. So I think that's the thing. But it's true that like most people who are studying liberal arts actually have that idea, we don't care, and we just see along the way where we go and where we end.
Okay, that's very interesting to me. Actually, I want to pursue that a little. We'll go to this question later on, because there was this question that I asked about how you should approach your studies. And I guess, well, I want to talk about your answers in a second, but we can start the question by going in the negative, by asking, do you see people around you studying liberal arts where you think, oh, come on, you are not doing this well. You are not using this program as intended. You are wasting this opportunity.
Yes, but that's not necessarily liberal arts. That's any student. Like the people who are just there. And for example, at liberal arts, you need to read a lot of articles because that's because it's applied sciences, so it's a lot of literature. And then if people just read then lots of time we have. Last year we had little multiple choice tests of about 5 minutes of them, about them, and then they just read the conclusions because all the questions are in there. Like, that's not the whole idea of giving you articles. So that really frustrates me that you don't necessarily need to know the inside and the outside, but if they give you an article, it's not about finding the quick fix. It's about reading the article and understanding it and actually enjoying reading academic literature. But I wouldn't say that's about liberal arts. That's any study whatsoever. It's not about the results, it's about the process.
Well, you could imagine that, if you study international business administration to take that might be less of a problem.
Not necessarily, because they also have because I know lots of friends who actually do it, human resource management and that kind of stuff. And they also, my friend also just says, I don't do anything about it, and then I read the lecture slides 2 days before the test, and I get a 7, and you get a 7, so we're both at the same level, but that's the wrong way of thinking. It's about the process. The end is important, but the end don't justify the means. That's
okay. So then they can ask the opposite question. Are there people who are studying liberal arts that who you say, wow, the way that they're doing it, that they're approaching it, respect. Tip my hat to you.
There are. And I think that's actually more in liberal arts than it is in other studies, because it actually invites you to do things from a multidisciplinary view and actually say things like, if you like psychology, then read these books, do this, go through this study, that kind of stuff. And I think they do that less because you're in a small field when you only do economics, physics, or that kind of stuff. You've gone through the literature relatively quick. And if you actually study every field that the applied sciences has, well, then it's the amount of knowledge that's out there is immense. but there are a few people, and then what they do is they read the literature, and then they see a footnote of, like we read Hobbes last year, they see a footnote of Rousseau, and they're like, oh, and then they read the book of Rousseau and actually see what's that in context, and I really like that, because then it's not just one person quoting another, but it's one person quoting another, and then that other quote put in context, and that's the way I think it should be. But it takes an immense amount of time. So.
Yeah.
But if you can, then that's the ideal way.
And people who play it safe, who are risk averse, because you talk about, experimenting with your choices is something that you really admire. People who just play it safe, say, this mathematics course, statistics course, maybe it'll drag down my GPA, maybe it'll...
Well, actually, it's actually good that you asked this to a second year, because we just picked our major.
Yes,
so,
of course.
Like last year, there are actually quite a few people who actually did social sciences instead of business to avoid any form of maths. And if you like this, then I know it's not nice, but it's just a hurdle you need to overcome. That's all. And that's why I really like the experimenting, because that's what liberal arts is for, to show you different fields, and then you get to pick one, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you leave all the other fields behind.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Do you think it's also important to, be engaged with the content of the program? That you, participate in discussions about the curriculum of the program management?
That one. Yes, because it's a study that isn't, or it's a field, the liberal arts, that isn't really finalized yet. And you can see that everywhere. Like last year with a course that just, it was a test case. And that's okay, but then really the thing that makes it good or makes it done or finishes it is the feedback from students. So I think it's when you do a study that's been there for thousands of years and hasn't really changed, and it's not that important. But when you have one that's really so much potential to grow, then you need the feedback from the students, and I know how important that is. So I think you should participate in that.
Because the idea why that's there, if you want to talk about survey construction, is that there is this tradition that liberal arts prepares you for being a democratic citizen.
Yeah.
And being a democratic citizen means shaping your community. And therefore, shaping your community at this liberal arts level is also important. You think that argument means anything to you?
Well, I am of the opinion that you need to start small before you can do it big. But then, on the other hand, philosophy-wise, if we need to venture towards that, then the democratic citizen part and actually doing that in small and liberal arts is I'm not sure if those are two things that are comparable. Like I can shape the this program. I mean, respectively, like in small amounts, but I can give my feedback, especially if at those feedback sessions there are 10 people, really means a lot. And I mean, we're in a country of 18 million peoples. My voice is one person. I'm not in parliament or anything. So it's not to that. It's I think it's more of a theory thing than a practice thing. Okay. So actually, it's good because in theory it helps you to shape democracy. But democracy in itself is not shaped by one person. No, sure. So it doesn't go two ways.
Okay. Getting out of the bubble, making an effort.
It's high or low?
No, it's high. Make an effort to become friends with people from different social, cultural, or economic backgrounds.
Yeah, that's really, really emphasized. At least in Tilburg it is. With Pulse UCT, that's a mentor system. And then they give lectures about intercultural awareness, and the study committee we have actually does things like celebrate different kinds of important things to different cultures and that kind of stuff. So I think liberal arts is, because there's so much internationals and because it's so internationally focused, it really emphasizes on getting to know those different people and fields.
How does that fit into the overall story of liberal arts, into the overall philosophy?
It fits quite nicely, else it wouldn't be there, I know, but It does, because it's again, it's the helicopter view, and the helicopter view is not only academic knowledge, but it's also, you're not alone in this world. You're not alone in this, it's not Tilburg and anything around Tilburg in your hometown, or it's not just the Netherlands, it's a whole world with different people.